Okay, this is a great step one question about glycolysis and glucose and all that good stuff. So a scientist is investigating metabolic adaptations of various human cell types under different oxygenation conditions. There's one cell type that's capable of bypassing the ATP-generated step in glycolysis, producing an alternative molecule instead. Further analysis shows that this process is upregulated by hypoxic conditions. So that should key us into like the 2,3 biphosphoglutarate phosphatase stuff of red blood cells, leads to enhanced oxygen release to tissues. So this is what causes the oxygen to be more released to tissues. So we know there's going to be a red blood cell, so that's going to be our correct answer. But let's dive into this and really explain this concept. So red blood cells, or erythrocytes, are tiny cells in your body that carry the oxygen from the lungs to the rest of your body. They're packed with hemoglobin. That's what binds protein that binds to oxygen, so we can carry the oxygen to the rest of your body. Red blood cells do not have a nucleus or a mitochondria, so though they can't use the oxygen themselves, they just deliver it. Okay, we get that. Red blood cells can't use oxygen for energy. They rely on glycolysis and how it breaks down glucose to make energy. So this happens without oxygen. It's anaerobic. So glycolysis takes one molecule of glucose and turns it into 2 molecules of ATP and 2 molecules of pyruvate. Normally, this would go to the mitochondria, but of course, red blood cells don't have it. Okay, I know this is a recap, but this is important. So what is 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, and why does the red blood cell bypass it? Okay, so normally we'd expect something like this. 1,3-biphosphoglycerate, 3-phosphoglycerate, but with erythrocytes it's a little bit different. So 1,3-biphosphoglycerate is a temporary molecule that's made in glycolysis. Normally the cell is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate right here, and that makes the ATP. However, red blood cells can do something different. Instead of making ATP, they can take 1,3 and turn it into 2,3-bisphospho. They can take it to 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate phosphatase right here. And why do they do that? Well, let's think about it. Well, 2,3-biphosphoglycerate is important because it helps red blood cells release oxygen to your tissues. So normally the hemoglobin binds to it really tightly, but then 2,3-BPG binds to the hemoglobin and makes let go of oxygen. So this is useful when oxygen is low, hypoxemic environments like the scientist was testing in this question. And by making 2,3-BPG instead of ATP, red blood cells sacrifice energy, but then they deliver more oxygen. So why do other cells not do this? Well, because muscle, liver, brain cells, they have mitochondria. And so they use aerobic respiration, glycolysis, and the Krebs cycle to make way more ATP than just the 2 than red blood cells do. Also, you don't need 2,3-BPG because you're not transporting oxygen. You don't need to release that oxygen. So red blood cells don't have mitochondria. They don't have a nuclei. And they make ATP in a step. Normally, you make ATP with 1,3-BPG, but red blood cells have a special enzyme that skips that, makes 2,3-BPG, which helps release in hypoxemic environments. So that was the reason why I had to go over all that stuff. So red blood cells do not have a nucleus or mitochondria, and let's kind of dive into some other stuff here. We get that. We've covered this. Super simple takeaway. There's all kind of further explanation. If you want, you can always pause and look at those. Erythrocytes, okay. Red blood cells lack the mitochondria, and we kind of went over this. And then why is it not hepatocytes? Liver cells use glycolysis, but do not contain significant amounts of biphosphoglycerate mutase, and so that's why it's not the right answer. Brain cells depend on aerobic metabolism and do not produce this 2,3 stuff. Myocytes do not produce this 2,3 stuff. So that's just going to be a blood thing. Adipocytes, fat cells, use glucose for fatty acid synthesis and storage rather than energy production via glycolysis. So there's not going to be the 2,3 stuff. That's going to be the blood, which transports the oxygen. Okay, so in sum, making this kind of, I know I'm repeating, but hopefully this is helpful for learning's sake. Erythrocytes lack mitochondria and rely exclusively on glycolysis for ATP. That's the big kicker for this question. If you don't have oxygen, then you divert 1,3 into it's called the Rappaport-Lou-Behring shunt. You don't need to know that, but the producing of the 2,3-BPG instead of the ATP, increasing the oxygen unloading, and that make sure you have adequate tissue oxygenation if you're anemic or in high altitude. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. If it was, like and subscribe so we can make more content and keep making it better. If you guys like and subscribe, then the content just improves and improves until we have question banks, which are just really awesome that we'll give to all of you guys. So make sure you subscribe if you thought this was helpful. And if you didn't, then unsubscribe and dislike and, I don't know, make your own channel. I don't know, just do whatever you want to do. Have a great day.